Studies have proven that caffeine can enhance physical and mental performance and therefore build muscle and mindset in at least 5 ways. As most of us know, caffeine is a stimulant drug that is naturally found in plants like coffee, tea, and cocoa. Caffeine is the safest and most widely used drug on the planet, with more than 90% of adults and as many as 50% of adolescents and teenagers consuming caffeine every day. Here are 5 ways to use caffeine to build both muscle and mindset. First, when we consume caffeine, it enters our bloodstream and reaches our brain, where it blocks the effects of adenosine. This is the chemical that makes us feel sleepy and tired. Obviously, blocking this chemical can improve reaction time and cognitive function, which not only makes it easier to concentrate, but also to react quickly during physical activity. This is especially important for sports that require quick thinking and reflexes, such as basketball, soccer, or tennis. Second, caffeine consumption stimulates the release of adrenaline, a hormone that helps to increase heart rate, blood pressure, and blood flow to the brain. This increased blood flow helps improve alertness and attention, especially in tasks that require prolonged focus. The release of adrenaline also increases power and strength output, which is especially important for athletes involved in sports that require explosive movements, such as weightlifting and sprinting. Caffeine does this again by increasing the release of adrenaline and other hormones that prepare our bodies for a fight or flight response, which can improve our ability to perform high-intensity activities. Third, caffeine can improve endurance by increasing the use of fatty acids as fuel during exercise. This means that our bodies have access to more energy to use during physical activity, which can lead to an improved endurance and performance so you can run, cycle, swim, etc. longer. Fourth, caffeine makes you poop. That's right, I said it, poop. The ingestion of caffeine triggers a gastrocolic reflex in many people, which causes the stomach to contract and signals a series of events from the stomach down to the small intestines and the colon. So basically, the signal makes the colon say, hey, we better flush because things are coming downstream. Not being literally full of shit not only helps with athletic performance, but aesthetically speaking, it helps show off your six-pack, or at the very least, helps keep your tummy flat. The fifth and final way caffeine helps build muscle and mindset is the reinforcer effect. Now, you may have heard of some or all of the first 4 ways caffeine enhances performance, but you have likely not heard about the fifth, and that's through subconscious positive reinforcement of everything related to or associated with the consumption of caffeine, including exercise. Since the reinforcer effect is little known, let's talk about how to use it to your advantage and how, when, and how much caffeine to consume to build maximum muscle and mindset, aka mental performance. Caffeine acts as a reinforcer or reward system that you can use to subconsciously train your brain to like or even love exercise simply by taking caffeine in conjunction with that exercise. Have you ever noticed that most people dread exercise or going to the gym, but some people seem to be addicted to it and become fitness fanatics? That's because they are tapping into the drug-like hormone release that exercise provides. And guess what? Caffeine can help you too get high on exercise. Let me explain how this works. Caffeine enhances the function and quantity of dopamine receptors in the brain's reward pathways. In other words, it makes pleasurable experiences even more pleasurable. It's actually acting as a powerful reinforcer of your entire experience, not just of the caffeine itself, but in the case of coffee, for example, the mug it's in, the food we're eating at the time, and the person that we might be sitting across from, and the activity or exercise we are performing while we are consuming caffeine. How powerful is this? Well, most people don't even like coffee the first time they try it. In fact, most people's first impression of coffee is that it tastes bitter or even that it smells or tastes like dirt. So why do people keep drinking it? Well, because caffeine is a drug, and that's what drugs do. Keep you coming back for more. The difference is that if used properly, caffeine is not only safe, but also it can increase your mental and physical health in all the many ways described earlier, but also by making you want to exercise more. So this may lead you to ask, is caffeine addictive? While your body can develop a illegal stimulants like methamphetamine or MDMA cause a significant dopamine release and disrupt the brain's reward circuits, leading to addiction. Unlike the mesolimbic reward pathway of the brain linked to sex, food, and drugs like cocaine, caffeine stimulates dopamine and acetylcholine release in the areas of the brain related to alertness and cognition, specifically the forebrain. And in addition to the dopamine and acetylcholine caffeine provides, exercise itself provides a low dose jolt to the brain's reward centers. Again, the system of the brain that helps you anticipate pleasure and feel motivated. Over time, regular exercise remodels the reward system. leading to a higher circulating levels of dopamine and more available dopamine receptors. It also triggers a release of serotonin, and both dopamine and serotonin can improve mood and relieve anxiety, as does exercise. To exemplify how caffeine can be a positive reinforcer that modifies our behavior to like things we might otherwise dislike or avoid, like the taste of coffee or exercise, think about how rewards motivate us to do challenging or difficult things every day. For example, we all work hard in life for all kinds of rewards, including financial rewards, trophies, advanced degrees, or even recognition. These are all conscious rewards that we are aware are happening. But all the many ways in which caffeine stimulates release of chemicals in our body are subconscious. That is, we are not aware that they cause this preference for the activities associated with their release. Like exercise, regular consumption of caffeine leads to an increase in dopamine receptors at multiple sites in the brain, including the reward pathways. This means that any dopamine released in response to exercise or other stimuli will have more receptors to bind to and enhance feelings of positive mood, motivation, drive, and excitement. Caffeine is such a positive reinforcer that we can use it in conjunction with exercise, not only to enhance mental and physical performance in all the ways mentioned earlier, but also to have increasingly positive associations with exercise that make you want to keep coming back for more caffeine and more exercise. Okay, now that we've established all the ways that caffeine boosts physical and mental performance, let's talk about how, when, and how much caffeine we should consume to maximize muscle and mindset gains. It's important to note that not everyone will react to the same dose of caffeine the same way. But body weight is a good indicator to determine a healthy and effective dose of caffeine for most people. Research has shown that generally consuming 1 to 3 milligrams of caffeine per kilogram of body weight per serving is a safe range that can provide positive effects without causing side effects like jitters or excess anxiety. To clarify, that's 1 to 3 milligrams of caffeine per kilogram of body weight per serving, not per day. Research concludes that people with a, quote, normal sensitivity to caffeine can ingest up to 600 milligrams per day. 1 kilogram equals 2.2 pounds. So to convert your body weight from pounds to kilograms, simply divide your body weight in pounds by 2.2. For example, I weigh 210 pounds, so when divided by 2.2, that's 95.5 kilos. This means I can safely consume almost 300 milligrams of caffeine in a single serving, or up to 600 milligrams per day, which I can assure you I take full advantage of and then some. But if you don't consume caffeine often or are sensitive to caffeine, then start on the lower end of the 1 to 3 milligrams per kilogram and work your way up as desired until you are adapted to caffeine. Now, let's talk about the timing of caffeine intake, especially relative to exercise. There are at least 3 reasons to consume caffeine first thing in the morning and before, during, and immediately after exercise. Ideally, mixed with the water that you drink to keep you hydrated while exercising. First, drinking caffeine on an empty stomach maximizes the potency of the stimulant effect as it enters your bloodstream faster. When there's food in your gut, it can delay how quickly caffeine peaks in the blood. If caffeine is more potent on an empty stomach, then common sense would dictate that the reinforcer effect caffeine has on experiences like exercise is also at its peak on an empty stomach. Second, as discussed earlier, caffeine blocks adenosine, the chemical that makes us sleepy. Adenosine is reduced or cleared out of its receptors with sleep, and so it's at its lowest levels when we wake up in the morning and then builds up throughout the day until it's time for bed when we need it. The earlier you consume caffeine, the faster you block adenosine, making it easier to concentrate and react quickly during mental and physical activity. It's worth noting that caffeine does not stop the accumulation of adenosine, but simply blocks it for as long as it lasts. That is, it acts like a dam plugging the receptors. Eventually, the caffeine will wear off and the adenosine will flood the receptors, thus the afternoon crash. The crash can be delayed by spacing out your maximum daily intake of up to 600 milligrams throughout the morning and early part of your day to push adenosine out closer to bedtime when you want it. This gets to the third point of why it's optimal to consume caffeine first thing in the morning. Caffeine late in the day reduces the quality of sleep in anyone, and sleep is critical to muscle recovery and therefore muscle size and strength. Sleep helps muscles release protein, pumping amino acids into the bloodstream at an increased rate, which helps them grow bigger and stronger over time. But caffeine has a quarter life, lasting 10 to 12 hours after it's consumed. This means that 25% of the caffeine you consume could still be coursing through your system 10 to 12 hours later, and if consumed late in the day, will disrupt the quality of sleep. And yes, this includes people who can drink espresso after dinner and fall asleep no problem. Even if you fall asleep after drinking espresso, research has proven that the depth and quality of that sleep will be greatly compromised. So if you consume caffeine first thing in the morning, you can still have a second dose later in the day, but early enough in the day that the quarter life will wear off and won't impact the quality of your sleep, which in helps muscle recovery. There you have it, folks. 5 ways to build muscle and mindset by simply knowing how, when, and how much caffeine to consume in conjunction with exercise. Subscribe, like, and follow if you want more content about improving your physical and mental performance. Until next time, happy muscle building.